Our instructor for the next 6 weeks is Virginia Mays, and I will just pass it over to you.
All right. Okay. Well, as you know, I'm Virginia Mays. I will be your instructor. I have been teaching ASL for probably about 12 years, 7 years in this online setting. And let's see. I first want to see how many of you work with deafblind children or have a deafblind child, like a parent of a deafblind child. Okay, I see a few. Okay. Well, in this course, we're going to learn ASL signs, but just be aware that uh, depending on your child, your student, or your child's needs, you may need to modify some of what you've learned, especially if you, obviously our goal is for like our children to become proficient communicators, but sometimes they won't be the most proficient. And so you may have to modify things. And if you do have specific questions about modifying signs for deafblind children or even adults, please let me know. I'm happy to help you. I actually have a lot of experience with deafblind. I'm actually a deafblind person myself. I have Usher syndrome. And I've interacted with many, many different deafblind individuals with all kinds of communication needs. Okay. Let's see, what else? I will cover a good bit in this class, but as you know, I have study guide for you, which will have all of the vocabulary that we're going to cover in each class. Some things to remember, maybe some grammar notes, that kind of stuff. And then I will provide links to videos that will help review some of what we've learned. And you'll have some homework. Obviously, you're not getting a grade for this, so it's up to you, but it's only going to help you if you, try to do the homework on your own. And we'll review. And please, please, please feel free to ask questions. You can write it in the chat. You can unmute yourself and just say, hey, I have a question. I am very open to all questions, okay? I also have in the Google folder, right now you only have access to lesson 1. And you have access to the finger spelling and numbers document. I will go very quickly through the ABCs, but I really don't want to spend too much time on this. So it's up to you to really try to, learn those and practice those on your own. But I do have a document that will help give you tips and, ways to practice. So I really highly recommend that you read over that document as well. Okay. Are there any questions before we start? No? Okay. It will help if you have your video on. Obviously it's up to you. You don't have to have your video on, but it does help me because I can kind of watch and make sure that, you're signing your sign correctly. And if I see anyone who is not doing it correctly, don't worry, I'm not going to point you out. I'll just say, hey, just make sure you're doing it this way instead of this way. Okay, so it does really help me out a lot. All right. Okay, so today we're going to learn just kind of introduction signs and just good first signs to know. And I think I see some familiar faces from the last class. So we will be learning basically the same stuff, but I've made a few changes. So hopefully it won't be just, boring review. Okay. All right. So let's just start with basic greeting. Hi or hello. Hello. You can just wave. This is probably a little more formal. And it's just like, hey, okay. My name. So you're going to do my, it's a flat hand shape, my name. And then you're going to finger spell your name. Okay. So let's stop and go over the ABCs just in case, some of you aren't very familiar with them. Okay. So A, B, C. You don't need to hold your hand this way, straight out. Palm orientation is going to be out. C, D, same with the D. You don't need to turn it. E, you can rest your fingers on your thumb, or you can do that. It doesn't matter. F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. Some people have their fingers straight out. Some like to curl them over. It doesn't matter. N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V, U, sorry, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, make sure when you're doing your Z, you use your pointer finger and not your pinky. I do see people sometimes doing that. So just make sure you're using your pointer finger. Okay. So for your homework, I want you to practice finger spelling your name. Try to make it as smooth as you can. Okay. Now in deaf culture, people have what's called a sign name. You need to go ask Daddy, okay? Okay. I know, Steve. I'm in the middle of class. Go ask. Sorry about that. So we have what's called sign names. Okay, so basically a sign name is going to be an abbreviation of your name. So my sign name is this. It's a V for Virginia, and it's right under my eyes. Someone gave that to me because I have blue eyes, kind of bright blue eyes. And so your sign name is going to kind of describe you in some way, like it might be your character, like maybe if like I have a friend who kind of has an attitude, and so her name, was an A but with attitude. It could be a physical feature, it could even be where you're from. But in deaf culture, a deaf person must give it to you. You cannot come up with your own. Okay. Now, if you are working with a deafblind person and a child and they are not going to be heavily involved with the deaf community, or you aren't, it's okay if you kind of come up with your own for that student, for yourself, but just know it's not going to be a true ASL sign name. Like a deaf person must give it to you for it to be like a true real one. Okay. All right. So hello, my name, Virginia. And then if you have a sign name, you provide your sign name. You can either sign name, or you can just pause right after you finish spell and give your sign name. So okay, so I did a little pause, and then I showed my sign name. All right. So when you meet someone, you usually kind of say, nice to meet you. Okay, so this is nice. So we call this an open B. So you'll notice all signs are created, all signs use the hand shape. So we went through the ABCs. Those are called hand shapes. So all of our signs are going to be one of those hand shapes. So instead of just a B, we call this open B. So you have two open B, and you're going to slide your dominant hand across your non-dominant hand. So you will have a dominant hand and a non-dominant hand. Your dominant hand is going to do all of the movement. Sometimes your non-dominant will do a movement, but if there's only one hand that's doing a movement and one hand that's stationary, your dominant hand is going to do the movement. Your non-dominant is going to be stationary. So nice. And then you're going to have two one-hand shapes. Pretend that these are people meeting. So nice to meet you. Okay. I also want to point out that in ASL, we do not have to be verbs. So you may have noticed that I did not say my name is Virginia. I just said my name, Virginia. So the way that we show to be verbs is by nodding our head. Okay, my name is Virginia. Nice to meet you. You don't say it is, just nice to meet you. Okay. All right. So let's do some other greeting words like, how are you? How you? How are you? Some people do how like this. How are you? Or how are you? So it's like a bent B, not quite bent. This would be more like a bent, so curled a little bit. How are you? Or how are you? Okay. Or you could say, what's up? What's up? So we call this an open 8, and we'll go over 1 through 10 at the end of class, or the end of this lesson. Open 8, what's up? What's up? Okay, different ways you can answer that. Good. How are you? Good. So open B. Okay. Or maybe you're just fine. 5 handshake. You're going to tap your thumb on your chest. I'm fine. So-so. So same handshake, 5. So-so. You can also always just sign okay. Finger spell okay. 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 Or tired. So bent B, and you're rolling your fingertips. Tired. Okay. Facial expressions are very important in ASL. They're part of the grammar. So make sure you're not saying, I'm good. Okay, I'm good. Right, so expressions are very important. There are, of course, many different ways that you can answer how are you and what's up. There is a link at the end of your study guide. I call it for further study. And you can learn more like emotion signs, more different ways that you can answer that. So definitely check that out.
Virginia, someone has asked, is your dominant hand always like the hand you used to write with?
No, actually, that is a very good question. And thank you I try to keep an eye on the chat, but sometimes it's hard. That is a good question. No, it does not have to be the hand that you write with. I actually have had students in the past that are write with their right hand, but they feel more natural using their left hand as their dominant hand. That is totally fine. I mean, when I do cartwheels, I'm right-handed, but when I did cartwheels when I was little, I always had my left foot out. But then if I wanted to kick a soccer ball, I kicked with my right. So it's whatever feels most natural, but stick with one. Do not switch hands because that can be visually distracting. Okay. Like, oh. Okay. So pick one, but it doesn't matter what. You can understand anyone. I mean, it doesn't, if they use their left hand, it's still understandable. Okay. Very good question. All right. Let's move on to, I like to teach same or also. So like if someone were to say, oh, nice to meet you, you can say same. same. If you do it this way, it's me too. You're pointing at that person and yourself. Me too. We're the same. Okay. So this can be also, same, to, all of those synonyms. Same, similar, right? And then for just kind of ending a conversation or saying goodbye, you can sign see you later. So you're just signing see later. So you're going from a V to an L. See you later. See you later. So see later. Okay, so make sure your palm orientation is in versus out. See later. Or you can just say bye. Same as hi. All right. Let's go over pronouns. All right. So personal pronouns, one handshake. You're going to use a one handshake. Okay. So like when I said you, I used a one handshake. You. Me or I. He or she. They. You're going to do a little arc. Okay. If you are talking to, like if you're saying you all, or as I say in the South, y'all, as we say in the South, you're going to just do that arc motion as well for you all. Okay. They or them. And then us or we. You're kind of doing that arc movement, but you're kind of just basically going from your dominant shoulder to your non-dominant shoulder. Okay. Us, we. So personal pronouns, one handshake. Possessive pronouns are an open B. So my name. Okay. Yours plural. His or hers. Theirs. And then ours. All right. Any questions before we move on? Okay. In the deaf community, they like to provide like hearing status. Okay, so I'm going to teach deaf. This is a sign that you can start from up here and go down, or you can start here and go up. It does not matter. Hard of hearing, an H handshake, hard of hearing. So you're just bouncing and you're going to go in, out. Hard of hearing. Hearing. This is not the same sign as I'm hearing something. This is just for a person who is hearing versus someone who's deaf. This is to hear. I hear something. Okay. Hearing, because you guys use your mouth. We all use your mouth. Hearing people communicate with their mouth. Hearing. Blind. Deaf, blind. You're going to sign deaf, blind. Deaf, blind. But the deaf part is going to be quick. It's not going to be deaf, blind. So you're just going to drag it down, go right up to blind. I mean, you could go up. I tend to go down and then up. Deaf, blind. Okay, so deaf, hard of hearing, blind, deaf, blind. All right. Okay. Sign, how we sign or sign. Sign or sign. To learn, there's two ways you can sign. You can sign like this, like you're taking information and putting it in your brain, or you can just sign learn. Teach. So don't do this, just bring it out. Okay, teach. All right. So student is a learner, It used to be learner, but now it's just this. So just like every other language, ASL evolves over time. Okay? So it used to be this, but now it's this. And you might still see some people sign it like this, but this is the more current one, student, okay? And then we have teacher, teacher. So you're just doing teach real quick, and you're going down to what we call the agent marker. This makes it into a person. So a lot of verb we can turn into a person by adding an agent marker. Okay, so teacher, teacher, kind of like learner used to be learn, and then the agent marker, teacher. All right. So you all are students. Okay. So no to me verbs. I'm nodding my head. I'm a teacher, and you all are students. Okay. All right. Let's go over a WH question. So we already know how. How. Who. You might notice that I'm furrowing my eyebrows. When you're doing WH question, you're going to furrow your eyebrows. Who? Okay. Your teacher. Who? Who is your teacher? Your teacher? Who? What? What? Okay. Your name? What? What is your name? The question words are going to go at the end. When? When? Some people sign when. When? Or when? Think of a clock. You're saying what time? When? When? Okay. When? When? And you're going to go up and around. Okay. When? Where? Where? Okay. Where are you learning sign? You learn sign? Where? Or if you use the other sign for sign, where are you learning sign? Why? Why? There's several ways you can do that. You can do why, do why, do why. Okay. I tend to do why. Okay. Why? Okay. Why are you learning sign? You learn sign? Why? All right. So who, what, when, where, why, and how. All right. Just a few more signs that are really good for just, beginning people who are beginning to learn. Yes and no. So yes is actually what we call a loan sign or a lexicalized sign. It used to be fingerspelled. So it's not, oh yeah, it's nodding my head. No, it's because we used to fingerspell it. You see how it became this instead of fingerspelling all the time. Okay. Yes, and then same with no. It used to be N-O. See that? N-O, N-O. So now it's no. Right? So it evolved. It used to be fingerspelled, and then it became a sign. We have quite a few of these in ASL. And fingerspelling, we do use fingerspelling a lot in ASL. So again, I do heavily encourage you to practice, learn your ABCs, and check out all those links. There's lots of links on there on your document that will help you. All right. Again, repeat. So you can do, can you sign it again? Sign again. Again. No. I know. I don't know. That sign? I don't know. I don't know. No, don't know. Understand. You understand? Make sure your palm orientation is towards you versus out. I understand. I don't understand. Slow down. Slow. You can find. Please, please. Okay. Okay. We'll do numbers in a second, but I want to talk about questions. Okay. So for WH question, you're going to furrow your eyebrows. For yes or no question, you're going to raise your eyebrows. Okay. So I will sign your teacher. Who? Who's your teacher? But for a yes or no question, I'll sign are you learning sign? So you sign, learn, raise my eyebrows, you learn, and I'm going to lean forward a little bit to let that person know I'm asking a question. Now, if you are working with a deaf-blind student, they're not going to pick up on facial expression, and they're not going to pick up on the fact that you're leaning forward. Okay, so you may have to do a little more like question, sign the question. Okay, so that is one thing that you can use with a deaf-blind person and make sure that they know you're asking a question. Okay, so WH question, furrow. Yes or no question, raise. All right, let's go over numbers. We're going to do numbers 1 through 10. So this is number, not to be confused with more if you are somewhat familiar with signs. This is more number. You're going to twist number. Okay. So numbers 1 through 5, you're going to have your palm orientation in. So not out, in. Okay. There are times where your palm orientation will be out for numbers 1 through 5, but that's usually when you're talking about like a phone number, room number, page number. But generally, we are talking about quantity when we use our numbers. So when you're talking about quantity, palm orientation in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to flip palm orientation out for 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. All right, so again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Are there any questions? Okay, so for the sign, you are going to pull in towards your body, okay? Not out, because that can actually be more like rolling or even some people might even sign go like that. So make sure it's in sign. Good question. Any other questions? No? All right. Let's review. We'll review the vocabulary that we just went over. And then we will do some kind of a review of some sort or activity. Okay? So hello or hi. My name, then your finger spell. How are you? What's up? Good. Fine. So-so. Tired. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Same or same. See you later. See you later. So you're going from the V and fill out your L. See you later. See you later. Bye. Okay. Personal pronouns, one handshake. So I or me, you, you all, he or she, they, us, or we. Possessive pronouns are going to be open B. So my or mine, yours, plural, his or her, theirs, ours. And just a note here, and it's on your study guide, ASL is a pronoun drop language, which means that you don't always have to use pronouns. Okay, so I could essentially ask, if it's understood that I'm talking to you, I could just say deaf, just sign deaf, and I'm asking you, are you deaf? Okay, so as long as it's understood who you're talking about, you can drop the pronoun. All right, so deaf or deaf, hard of hearing, hearing, blind, deaf, blind, sign or sign, learn, so learn or learn, student, student, teach, teacher, who, what, when, where, why, how. Yes, no, again, no, I don't know, understand, don't understand, slow, slow, number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. Okay. So if there aren't any questions, oh, and this is the sign for questions, question for me, questions for you, okay? Or a question for that person, right? So again, I'm not using any pronouns. Question for me. I'm not saying ask me or question for me, question for you, question for that person. So it's a pronoun drop language. Right, so I'm going to do a few sample questions and just type it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and translate. Either one, it doesn't matter. All right. Um,
You deaf.
yep. Are you deaf? Okay. Where are you learning sign? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Um,
Who is your teacher?
who is your teacher? I'm good. Good.
How are you?
How are you?
Nice to meet you. Same.
Again,
Nice to meet you too. Mhm. All right.
your learning sign.
Yeah. Are you a assigned student? Yes.
and student.
And just so you know, the recording will be available on the link will be sent to you by someone, by either Lisa or somebody will send it to you. So yes, if you have to leave early, you'll be able to catch up. Okay, very good. So right now I want to see if we can maybe pair off and you can introduce yourself to one of your classmates. Okay, I know that there are some people that have two and you guys can practice with each other if you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to observe and I'm going to just kind of make sure you're signing correctly and I will provide general feedback. I'm not going to pick anybody out. Okay, I'll just give general feedback if I see any mistakes or, you know, if I'm, oh, you guys are great. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to include a greeting. Okay, any kind of greeting, your names, okay, provide your hearing status, ask how, you know, how each other are doing, and then say nice to meet you. Okay, so if I have to, I can help you guys pair off. Let's see. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Right, so we have an odd number. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so Jody, maybe you can introduce yourself to Allie. Okay, and then Julia and Shelby. Then M. Howell and Paula. And then Jenny, do you want to participate? Okay, Jenny and Kathy. And then Lindsay and Heyman, B. Heyman. And then, okay, that leaves Heather. Let's see. Maybe Heather, you can practice with Lindsay and B. Heyman. Okay, so if you've already done your conversation, maybe do it again because I didn't get a chance to see. Okay, because I don't see anybody practicing yet.
Okay, guys, maybe I'm just old. How do you get into a group, or am I just doing it?
I just moved Kathy's square next to mine, and I'm just looking at her and I. So whoever you're with, just move their square next to yours, or just look at theirs.
Okay.
It would be easier if we were in like a traditional classroom, but we got to work with what we got. Right, was that awkward? Yeah. Well, when I taught in a traditional classroom, I made my students do what you guys are doing. So but it's good practice, okay? Now, I didn't see a whole lot of, mistakes. I do want to make sure that when you are signing meet, make sure it's a one handshake, okay? One handshake. Let me see. Sorry, I need to, there we go. Okay, so one handshake, meet, okay? And then it looks like some of you have a little more vocabulary already. I saw some people really trying to have a conversation there. That's very good. um, and I saw people were giving, they were all saying hearing or asking, are you deaf? Very good. Now, if you were to ask, are you hearing or deaf, instead of just, you deaf? If you wanted to say, are you hearing or deaf, that's going to change it into a WH question, and you're going to assign which, okay? And you're going to do a little shoulder shift. So we don't sign or, and we don't sign and in ASL. So what you're going to do for and or is you're going to do a little shoulder shift, okay? Okay. Are you deaf or hearing which? And honestly, you don't even have to sign which. You could just say, kind of like you're saying what. Either one, which or what. Okay? Very good. Are there any questions? Need any clarification on anything?
If you make a mistake when you're signing with someone, what should you
Mhm.
do?
You just, you don't need to like erase. Okay, you don't have to do that. You can just say, oh, sorry, or just kind of, and then re-sign what you were trying to sign. Okay, just kind of like saying, oh, I meant this, or sorry, and then just start over. Mhm. Good question. All right. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, for the last 15 minutes, let's go over finger spelling where you actually have plenty of time to practice. So what I want to do is we're going to work on, we have receptive, and expressive. Okay, so receptive is you watching someone sign or finger spell and you understanding it. Expressive is you signing. Okay, so we'll practice receptive finger spelling. Okay, so I'll finger spell some words and I want to see if you guys can read it and type it in the chat, or you can say it out loud. In ASL, we use, like I said before, we use finger spelling a lot. We actually use more finger spelling than any other sign system. If you don't already know, there are sign languages in pretty much every country. They all have their own sign. ASL is American. Canada in the English speaking part, they use ASL, but pretty much just us. So we use finger spelling for names, proper nouns. We use them to spell words that, like English words that don't have a sign. And we also use them if you don't know a sign, you can always fall back on finger spelling. Like, I don't know that sign, just finger spell it. And you can always also say, how do you sign and then finger spell? Or finger spell and then sign how? Okay? And then sometimes finger spelling will be used for clarity. Like maybe there's just one sign for like a bunch of synonyms in English, but you want to use a specific English word, you can finger spell for clarity. So you'll sign it and then you'll finger spell for clarity. Okay? All right, so when you're finger spelling, avoid bouncing. Okay, you don't want to be like, okay, that's, no, don't just, if it helps, hold your elbow. And then you'll notice if you're bouncing, okay? The only time that it's okay to bounce is if there is a double letter, like, I mean, like in mall. You can either bounce, so M-A-L-L, or you can drag it out, mall. Okay? M-A-L-L or mall. Okay? So yeah, you can either bounce or you can drag it out. Right. So all, mall, you'll bounce those. Just a, excuse me for a second. A way to improve your expressive finger spelling is when you are in the car, maybe not when you're driving, maybe when you're just a passenger so that you can kind of focus on it. Spot a sign, pick out a word, and try to finger spell it before you pass the sign. That's a good way to kind of practice your expressive finger spelling skills. And on your document, your finger spelling and numbers, there is a website on there. It's called asl.ms backslash. That is a very good site to go to also practice your receptive skills. What it will do is it will finger spell a word and you just type in the word and it'll tell you if you're right or wrong. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, you can do like really slow where it's like, or you can speed it up all the way to deaf. Okay. So that is a very good tool to use. So I recommend that. All right. So let's go ahead and I will finger spell a few words. I'll start off with some short words, 3-letter words. Okay. All right. Are we ready? Oh, is there a double sign for letter S? Like, no, there isn't. You're just going to do SS. But yes, if you have, like, if you're finger spelling pizza, you can do the double Z. You can do that. But S, you're just going to bounce or draw it out. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cat. Very good. Dog. You. Can. Not. Okay. I think these are too easy. Let's go on to 4-letter words. Word. Okay. I see some. Okay. So this is my E because I'm transitioning from a V to an E. So you could do have, but this is what's called deaf finger spelling. Okay. So you may notice if you interact with native signers, they kind of tend to use just these 3 fingers. Okay, I'm keeping you can basically tape these down. Of course, there are some like I and J, you have to have your I. I mean, you have to have your pinky. But yes, you might see an E like this. Okay, you might even see a C like this. CH. Okay, all right. And don't worry if you're If you're struggling with this, it takes time. But think of it kind of like with when you're reading, you don't read each letter. I mean, you're not sounding out each letter when you're reading. You can read a word just by looking at the first and last letter. And even if it's spelled wrong, you can still read it. You're going to get to that point with finger spelling as well. Okay? So try not to get tripped up on if you're like, oh, I don't remember what that letter was. Well, try to get the first letter and the last letter and kind of get the shape. You're going to learn the shape of words, just like when you're reading, you learn the shape of words. Okay? All right. Let's see, what else can we do? Host. Okay. There was a question. Let me see. The VE, that is not regionally. That's more of like a native deaf signer thing. It's like maybe a deaf accent. I don't know how to explain it. Kind of like a deaf accent. There's actually a whole, if you're interested, shoot me an email. My email's at the top. I will send you some information about that, about deaf signing, or I can't remember what it's called, but there's a term for it. And there's this guy who's done research on it. So if you are interested in that, I'm happy to send you some information about it. Okay. So no, it's not regional. Deaf accent. All right. Next word. Let's do anybody getting that? Can you see my hands?
We're typing
Oh,
it in. Maybe you're not
oh,
seeing.
okay. It's not showing. Okay, now I see it. Now I see it. Okay, skill. Very good. Another thing you might see people do, like if there's finger spelling oil, it might not be I-O-I-L. It might be, they're just keeping the I up. Okay. Oil. Okay. So oil versus, like, I have a hard time not keeping, not putting my, I keep my eye out when I do that usually. But I try not to when I'm teaching. Okay. Oil. Okay. Wild. Wild. It looks like that when it's being spelled in deaf mode. Okay. Wild. Can't think of other words. Okay. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Long word. Pronoun. Very good. Pronoun. So that is an example of a word that I did not use any of these fingers. Pronoun. So even the O can be like that. Okay. Avoid.
I do have a quick question.
Mhm.
Wow, I just forgot it.
Oh. Well, think about it and then let me know.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Okay. Stacy. Very good. Lori. Addie. Matt. King. July. May. December. Joy. Anne. Yep. Sarah.
All right, I remembered what I was gonna say.
Okay.
So when you're like receptively watching somebody sign or fingerspell rather, would you suggest like picking out the individual letters or like trying to sound it out? Does that make sense
I
what I'm
guess try
asking?
to sound out. Try to sound it
Okay.
out because I mean, it's very normal to be like, oh, July, July. Oh, July. It's normal to do that, but you do want to be more like July. Okay, July. But eventually you're going to get to the point where you're just going to recognize the shape of the word, especially those words that are commonly fingerspelled. Like July, all of the months we fingerspell. December, January, February. You're going to know what that is. That's not some random word. It's February. So you're going to get to that point. But right now, yes, try to just sound it out like you're reading a new word. Like when you're teaching kids to read.
Thanks.
All right, are there any questions? We have like 1 minute left. No questions? Okay. So for the homework, there is a link on there. Well, there, you're supposed to practice your finger spelling. And then there's also a link that will take you to a video that is a conversation, like a basic conversation between two people. Try your best to translate that. We'll go over it in the next class, okay? And we'll make sure that for those of you who had time to translate, you got it right, okay?
All right, thank you. Everyone have a good evening, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see you later.